my favorite people signing autographs thing was, anyway, no, I'll tell it. Mary's son, Charlie.
Yes. Oh,
right.
God, I love Charlie.
He's delicious.
See, I remember him 3 years old, mostly.
We were at the top of the Empire State Building for some reason, showing the kids around, and these school girls happened to have seen Cheers or something, whatever. They came up to me and they lined up and they all wanted, and I was furiously lining, and Charlie slipped in line and I didn't even look up, and I just signed it and handed it back, and it was the story of proof that I am out to lunch and pay no attention to my children or anything like that. Charlie, because you worked with Mary twice.
Yes, I did. And you know what? Lily was the only toddler. She was a child. She might have been 2. She wasn't even sort of cognizant of Easter.
Cross Creek. This was Cross Creek.
And there had been a flood. And we had to get in a boat to row over to their house, her and Malcolm's house, for an Easter egg hunt, because Lily, who was like 1.5, but all of the adults, that's how we do family. It was like, well, it's Easter, we have to do that. And you could drive down the street, but at a certain point you had to get in a little, country boat and row over. And of course, there's all these adults. There was, God, I'm forgetting, Joe Tompkins and everybody, like, here's an egg, Lily. I think there's one here and all. But yeah, so I talk about not seeing people for a while. I would see Charlie and Lily maybe once every 10 years or 20 years.
Yeah.
But they are that close in my heart and my memory.
Yeah. Did you have kids then or no?
No, mine was Mavis was, I think, 6 months old when we went down to shoot this wild thing called...
Miss Firecracker.
No, the gun in Betty Lou's handbag. And so Mavis learned to walk, and they still call her, because she's a very pretty child, and Michael O'Neill called her Miss Putty. And so they will still, she's 34, and they'll still say, how's Miss Putty doing? Like the cast and crew from that. But by the time we got to... No, we were practicing for a family when we did Miss Firecracker. And so we got Finley, a black lab, to bring back to Santa Monica to practice coming home and being responsible for something.
Oh.
Because back then, we lived, in Santa Monica. A lot of our friends lived in Beechwood Canyon or Los Feliz or somewhere. So if you were out and hanging out, it's like, I'm not driving all the way back there. And we also, before that, lived in Manhattan Beach. So you just crashed wherever you were at your friend's house. We said, okay, we want to start a family, but we have to learn how to go home and feed it and let it out. So,
well, you're married to an incredible father. He's...
Yes.
According to Mary, he's pretty spectacular.
Yes. Mary, oh my God.
Roderick?
I don't know when I've seen Mary. I know she's told you about the two of us. It was back during the apartheid era, and we sent out a call around the industry. Then you had, what do you call it, mimeographs, or what are those things?
Mimeographs.
What came after mimeographs? Fax machines.
Fax.
So you send... you send faxes around saying, anybody interested in working on South Africa and trying to assist with the dismantlement of apartheid and our disengagement, as a government with them, to come. Anyway, there's a whole long story, but basically people came out. We went to, it was Bob Guillaume and Donna Brown Guillaume's house. We thought maybe 20 people would show up. There were a couple hundred people, like 300 people, like sitting all out on the deck and everywhere. And so we decided we were going to go to D.C. and, we were all amped up and knew a lot. People were politically involved and they knew a lot about the things they were doing, but there were receptionists, editors, everybody that had any sort of sensibility about that. And we planned this whole thing of going there. And when it came down to it, the day that we actually could go to D.C., it was just me and Mary on the plane, going to have a showdown with the Senate about, why, the liberation movement, the Black people, the majority population, they were the ones who were akin to us in our democracy, not because before that it was like, oh, if they're Caucasian, we must be on their side. But I remember her cornering Pete Wilson. He was so excited. That was our senator then. He was a governor or something once.
Yeah.
He's the reason our schools went down the toilet. That's a whole nother conversation. But because we used to have the number one school district in the country, all across California. But he heard that there was a movie star there, Mary Steenburgen. I'm going to, oh my God, Mary Steenburgen's here. And he was just strutting up to her, and she said, "Let me tell you what is." And his face, he was just shocked. And he just listened because he just couldn't believe Mary Steenburgen, the beautiful, mannered Mary Steenburgen, was giving him what for about not paying attention to the fact that people were being, their lives were being ended and brutalized. But
I think that moment ended with the door being slammed in your face by Pete.
Well, Pete didn't even, I was standing next to Pete, didn't even look at me. It was like, and there's the little brown one. I don't even have to turn towards her.
Wow.
Yeah.
And here we are. Nowadays, revisiting some of this.
And I remember dancing at you guys' wedding.
I know.
Yeah.
We also got to play, we were vastly different sizes, but you played the Queen of Brobdingnag. Yes, in Gulliver's Travels. And you were big and I was small. This is the land of the giants.
Yes.
Right. So I don't think we actually got to look at each other in the eye. You were probably looking at some dot or some tennis ball for your eye line. But
I'm so happy to visit with you. I just love you, Ted, and I it ignites in my heart every time I see you on screen. So it's good to just sit with you.
It's so sweet. Back at you.
Thanks.
And you're infallible as an actor. You really are. Every time I see you, the same confidence you walked in, and I'm terrified. As I'm at first day of school, I'm starting to read through. No, you're so good. You know how when you watch a film, whether you're looking at it at the director or an actor, within seconds, even if you don't know the actor, you will go, "Oh, I'm in good hands." That confidence that you go, you can relax, and I'll go wherever you want to take me, Alfre, because I am relaxed the second you come on screen, that I know I'm in good hands. And you have that.
Oh.
You really do. Yeah.
Oh,
You're also so elegant. You really are such an elegant person, too. I have
so
many questions
describe
for
myself
you.
that way, but
You are elegant.
That's lovely.
Let's take a vote. Everybody in the room. Elegant. Elegant.
Oh, no pressure.
So I have two stories that Mary said you got to ask her. Okay, so just back, you grew up in Oklahoma.
Tulsa.
Late 50s, early 60s.
Early 50s.
Early 50s. I didn't want to say early 50s because that's my growing up. I was born in 47. You were born in 54.
52.
Yeah. All right, see how well I know you.
Well, but ages aren't important, but let's go on.
Okay, so, and your daddy was a designer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the first question I had, because Mary said, you have to have Alfre tell the story about how her dad became an interior designer.
Oh, that's...
Is this ringing a bell?
I absolutely, but it's
Will
too
you tell
long.
Because I don't know it.
No, it's too long for here.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Oh, well, you don't have to tell it if you don't want.
Okay. But I'll tell you the story, but it's long for here.
Okay. We have time. No, you don't want to. You'll tell me sometime. Okay, very good.
Then I'll know that when you're back east, you'll actually come
tell
over.
Me the story. I'm not going to have Mary tell it to me. I'm going to wait for you. All right, that's a story to come. Okay. The other story was how you got nicknamed Bootsy.
Oh, yes. Normally, I wouldn't want you to say that aloud because I'm going to tell you this. If anybody listening, if y'all come calling me Bootsy in public, you're going to see the inelegant Alfre.
Why did Mary load me up with these stories? This is not fair.
Because she thought we were just going to be together yakking and there wouldn't be
have
your
two
gazillions of listeners there.
I have two stories.
Okay, but Bootsy, I do want to talk about that.
Oh, great.
It's just the fact of it. We get nicknames at birth in our family, and mine was Bootsy. At birth, you get a nickname. You know, it might be a week or two later, but my mother, I was an 11-month pregnancy, and it was truly, counted. It wasn't like somebody forgot something. And my mother was small. She was like, she might have been, she said she was 5'2", I don't know. But she was tiny, but she would end up having these, going up to 180 pounds that little with these pregnancies. But normally she wore size 4 pants. And she said, okay, this scene, I take too long for stories. This part is not part of the story, but it's good. She might nurse a glass of wine for 2 days. That's all the alcohol she did. But my father had a bottle of wild turkey next to the bed in his easy chair. And she was so big, she couldn't pick up anything if he was gone. So when he would go out, he'd set her up in the chair. And then, she would be fine till he came home. Well, she was sitting there. She said, I was miserable. And I just said, Father God, just take me. I can't take this anymore. So she started drinking this wild turkey and she passed out eventually. And it was only a matter of a couple of hours. He came back. She was on the floor with the water broken and he rushed to the airport and I flew out within an hour. I was here. Anyway, the Morton's Hospital was the name of it back then. And it was a colored hospital, as everything was. It was colored or white back in that day. And they weren't particularly nice. They had a couple of black nurses, but it was mainly white nurses and staff and all. But they were mean to the black women. They were just, if not mean, overlooking a lot of times. But my mom had some, they needed to really keep track of her with this pregnancy and all. But I came out normal and like normal size, like 7.5 pounds. Back then, people didn't have 10-pound babies, but she was in pain a lot after the birth, and she said people just would moan and call out, and nobody would come for them. She said there was a woman that came to her and would sit with her at night and just chip up ice and feed it to her. And she would rub my mother's feet. Look, I'm getting misty about it. She would rub my mother's feet and feed her ice chips, this nurse. And the nurse's name was Boots. And so when I got my birth name from my godmother, which is Alfre, so we knew it was going to be that. But as soon as my mom got home, she said, the baby's nickname is Bootsy.
Oh, I love
because
that.
Of Boots, yeah. So, but still, don't y'all be calling me Bootsy like you know me like Bootsy Collins, because you get called your nickname. When you go to school, you get your government name. I had a government name, the official one, which I might as well say that it's Alfre Lawanda Jean Woodard was my name. Jean was spelled wrong because they let my 6-year-old sister name me that. She wanted to put a name in. And they said, Jean is Jean. She goes, no. I wanted 2 E's. So it's just weird, my naming. But anyway, I was called Bootsy all my life to the point that even at school, like in high school, when I went away, I think the first thing I did was Alan Rudolph's picture that Bob Altman produced called Remember My Name. And so they saw Alfre Woodard. And then the TV thing is when I did Freedom Road with Ali and Christopherson. So by that time, my high school friends and middle school and all, they said, oh yeah. I said, I heard Bootsy Woodard is in Hollywood and she's doing pretty good, except she changed her name to Alfre. Alfre? That's not a good name. But Alfre kicked in. My godmother would always say to me, "You know your God-given name, right? Your real name." I said, "Yes, I know." She said, "Everybody calls you Bootsy, but just so you remember your name, because that's your God-given name," because she had prayed for a name. She knew she was going to be my godmother. And so um, Alfre was my name. I get to be you. Again, government, you registered. So on my door at the dorm was Alfre Woodard. And I just went, yeah, might as well call me Alfre, because only my friend Sugar Bear called me Alfre. But she thought it was
high school, or I mean,
when I went to college.
College.
Yeah, when I went to college at BU. So and when people said it, she had said it was my God name. When people said it, things changed in me because it was my God-given name, and I felt like myself in a very grounded way. That, I was an odd child. I was popular because I was one of those weird ones that didn't hide away and let themselves be ostracized. I was odd and in your face and participating all the time. So, but I also feel like, how you're born where you come out, but then you find out where you really live when you have a choice. So, but it started with being called Alfre, and I understand why, and I'll tell you off mic why. But that's when my feet were strongly flat on the ground.
What was the first thing you did after BU? Was it theater?
I came here and, okay, so, you're studying all this classical theater and all in conservatory at BU. And then the last semester, you think you're going to the open gate theater and do Brecht all your life. And like the last semester, they bring Marty in from New York to say, okay, this is what you got to do. You get you some headshots, get yourself a black turtleneck, and, find yourself a waiting job. And, a lot of my classmates did, and some did well. But I immediately, I wanted to be in film. That was what I realized that I was suited for, and what I thought I could bring to the world, because we thought we could change the world when we were young, because we desperately needed to. You remember, we were hiding under the desk with our hands behind our head to prevent dying in a nuclear blast. That's what they told us to do. And they shot everybody in the head that believed the things that we were being taught. Like, everybody had equal rights. Everybody was equal under the law. Everybody was, if you will, a child of the universe. And everybody that said it, Malcolm, Medgar, Bobby, Martin, and they just assumed Jack Kennedy felt that way too, because he was young and it was a new time. So when we were choosing professions, it was like, even if you wanted to bake bread, it was like, okay, well, how can I use this to save the world? Because, we spent all that time in the streets trying to save our friends who were having to go off to a war that was, okay, we won't get into that. But we watched all of our young people around us being fed into a war machine and not coming back, or if they came back, really damaged. And so I was being shown film by Brother Patrick O'Brien at Bishop Kelly High, and he was a film buff. So they would shut down the school once a month, take all 750 kids to the nearest cinema, and he would show us whatever film he was excited about. And so that's when I started to watch film and understand that, first you go like, this is not a movie. This is a lesson. It's got words on it. We got to read, because it was subtitles and all. But I'm sitting there in the dark. identifying with a person, a French man, middle-aged man, and I'm 14, watching Sundays in Sibel. And I could go on, but it was just that I realized how powerful the moving image was. And for me, it was like, that's what we do. We commandeer the moving image. And we can, that was, there are those of us who thought that's how we'd save the world. But it was all about.
Did you make that connection with those words, or is that kind of in hindsight realizing that? In that moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Because people did it.
There was nothing casual going on around you in your life. It was all very much life and death.
Yeah, it was. We were all, not for all, but I guess the people I kept company with. You were activists. I'm a daughter of Greenwood. You were activists, and you had fun. You dicked around, and I said dicked around, but
welcome.
There was a lot of joy because when you're struggling, when you're in the struggle, it is invigorating because you're standing with the truth. So it makes you joyful. So people think, if somebody's too dour and serious about themselves, they're not focused on the fact that they're standing with the truth.
And most likely they're not going to be that effective, because I do believe if you're coming from fear and anger and trying to make change, it doesn't work. Mary had the same, different, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
From a white perspective, she was a little girl watching kids go to school in Little Rock High School, and
Central.
They were throwing rocks at them and yelling words at them, and she didn't want. It was the first integration of these. I don't know how many kids it was, but it was a handful of Black kids who were integrated into that school, and she looked at it on the news and went, "Oh, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school." But she was, you always think, "Oh, the South." No, the South actually had to deal with their racism and had to choose earlier on. Mm-hmm. So she said there was nothing casual. You realize that at an early age, you either thought that was wrong or you went along with it, and you chose. You couldn't be on the fence.
Mary was my first, if you want to say, quote unquote, Hollywood friend. It was like we recognized each other because not only did we drink the same water. She was Little Rock. I'm an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours away in Tulsa. But we knew the same people, and we had the same experience, and we also had we laugh louder and harder about stuff, and inappropriately is the key to doing it. But also in the South, I'm still more comfortable in the South, believe it or not, than I am in most parts of the country.
Yep.
Because everything was dealt with. We're all DNA related to each other. And so with family, you learn to live together. When you're together, you can't say that person's not human. It's like, oh, yes, they are, because my kid fell and broke their head open. They scooped them up and helped me get them to the hospital. They put, all of that kind of stuff. And so people realize it's their opinion that, that we are not created equal and meant to be treated that way. So that's, again, and that takes us all the way up to us in that final thing. People had things to do, like maybe they had to be on their show, or maybe they had whatever they had to do. But we did too. But we got on that plane and we went to D.C. together, and we got there and we got to the plane and we just said, are we the only ones? And just started cackling. And it's like, yes, daughters. Yes, you are, because you are daughters of the enlightenment that will save the nation.
Yeah. And you both you're both well loved.
Yes.
By your parents. And your decency was a big word, whether it was said or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming.
Those kind of parents that tell you, it doesn't matter if you're eating, if anybody in your vicinity is hungry, then you need to put your fork down and go make sure everybody has something to eat tonight.
Yeah. I'm bouncing around, but you played Winnie Mandela. Were you around her? Did you get to spend any time with her? What was that experience like, if I may ask?
You know, when we did Mandela, we shot it in Zimbabwe. There's huge not even expatriate, people that had fled for their lives, or they were underground, but you had to get out of South Africa if you were part of the liberation movement there. So Danny and I were already active in the anti-apartheid movement. And that was
Danny Glover and Mary and a handful of other people
started ANSA, Artists for a Free South Africa. Then that became Artists for a New South Africa. And so it was a way for us to, sometimes you have the good fortune of letting your sensibilities, your spiritual, political, social opinions or the things that you live to activate, they'll cross with your artistic, the artistic lanes, and you get to do that. So we did do Mandela for HBO back in the day, and then everybody was still on the island, and Winnie and them were banned. They couldn't leave, and none of us could go in.
But you made that. Sorry, I misunderstood it. He was still in prison.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But you want to know, this is how I got to be friends with Madiba, is that, again, because humans are humans, being on the island on Robben Island took away a lot of their life that didn't get lived out in open. But there was also, it kind of inculcated them against the daily assault of apartheid that Winnie and other people suffered, because they were dragged out, interrogated in the middle of the night, all of that. And they didn't want the political prisoners to infect the rest of the criminal population, so they kept them together. And so it became what was called Mandela University. If you got sent to Robben Island, it's like, can you get into the cell block areas that had Madiba and Kathrada and I'm blanking now on all the names, Mbeke, but they would bring in all of Madiba's law books. They actually, because they're like, well, we don't care, give them whatever they're asking for. And the jailers who were farm boys, Africana farm boys, that society that had so much wealth, they didn't think of them as deserving of a lot of humanity. So they were put there with Madiba in them. So for the first time, those guys who were told that, like the blacks were monsters and they were literally monsters and devils, they were being given respect by Madiba when another white man hadn't given them that in their society. And they actually learned things from Madiba. So people would do things and make what you would normally make for a person that when you're in their presence, you understood that you were in the presence of thoughtfulness and intelligence and compassion. So all of that to say, within a couple of months of when it aired on HBO, Madiba and them had a VHR. What do we call those things? Cassette.
Yeah. VHR. Yeah.
They had a cassette of Mandela on Robben Island, and it was never shown until South Africa was free. It was never shown to the greater population. So that's when he saw me and Danny, and we also did a lot of work helping the underground. And so they knew the work that we were doing, but that just goes back to, so I played Winnie. When I finally met both of them is when they came, once he was released, and they did a cross the world tour, came over to the Coliseum, and there was a big celebration of Madiba there. And we got to introduce him. She practically squeezed my head off my whole body. I mean, Yeah, but and so I went through all the different years with them of, the complications that the abuse she suffered at the hands of the police that, made her life complicated because, she reacted the way a person who is abused, oppressed and abused reacts, and it made things difficult, but we all remained friends even as they were separated, and I was particularly close with him.
How amazing. I mean, that your craft, your art allowed that meeting. And then later in life also working with Obama. He put you in charge of an educational, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but it was
called Turnaround Arts.
Right.
And that came out of the President's Committee on Arts and Humanities, which he was the first president that actually had artists on that committee. I think it started with Gerald Ford, but it was always whoever had given the most to their campaigns and things. And they met once a year, but they had about 45 artists in every discipline, and arts curators and arts, advocates on that committee. So incredible things came out, like the Turnaround Arts, which was using arts to really turn around failing schools in the country. But there was another thing they did. I don't know what it was named, but I remember the first time I went to Harare, I turned on the TV in Zimbabwe, and it was Yellow Rose. I'd never heard of it or seen it. That was what was on Yellow Rose of Texas with Sybil Shepherd. It was on in Harare. And all of these things that people, because you didn't have contact with Americans, you thought that's how Americans lived, because that was the kind of fantasy stuff we were putting out here. And they did a program, the President's Committee, where they took independent filmmakers like Peter Bratt. I won't start naming everybody. And they took those, they said, we realized that like 80% of the world population is younger than I am. So we have a chance, the State Department under Obama did this also, we have a chance to redefine ourselves as Americans so people really know who we are, and not just our armament and, Dallas, everybody driving around these huge cars with big lands. And so that was another thing that same committee did, was to send, my brother, wow, I'm blanking on my brother's name, who did Freedom Riders. He's an incredible documentarian. He went to China with Freedom Riders. And in that audience, somebody helped me. Stanley Nelson. Oh my God, the brilliant Stanley Nelson. They sent him to China, and so of course, sometimes it's lovely how bureaucrats and autocrats don't know shite. They didn't know you don't show Freedom Riders to, 400 Chinese young people. At the question, the Q&A, instead of America, that was really terrible, they said, it makes me think about individual freedom. How do you move? Yeah. So that's how you get over on the man. You just stay with the truth. The man is really so far away from the truth, they don't even know when you're being subversive.
That when you inject the arts into education, no. You grades go up. I mean, it sounds like, this is warm and fuzzy. People want to paint pictures and da da da, and it's a waste of time. It should be science and arithmetic and something will build something. Grades go up in all the reading, writing, arithmetic stuff if you give them the arts.
And
that's a fact.
We accumulated all of this thing. We gave it to him. It's not a pamphlet, but a whole thing.
Yeah.
About 72 pages of how it works. For a year, we accumulated. I'm kidding. See, this has been in the back of my mind. a long time. But there was all this evidence, 30 years worth of evidence, that within the same school, if you had gave a group of kids instrumental music and the others didn't have it, those kids that had instrumental music, their math scores went up. And well, now we can see that when somebody is playing an instrument, we have the technology to see that there's a certain part of their brain that lights up that would be the same part that comprehends and retains mathematical language and sensibility. Yeah. So it's not only that it humanizes us, which should be the basis and the point of education anyway, but it also it opens up parts of the brain that allows us to do the science, that allows us to do the
all
history. All
those things that the people on the other side want and stress. Guess what? Put arts in and your kids will be even better at that thing you care about. Okay.
You're so serious?
Boroughs. Tell me about Boroughs, because are you traveling the world talking about Boroughs? It looks amazing. I haven't seen it yet, but I watched the trailer and clips and all that. Spooky. Kind of spooky.
It is. It is. It's scary on a lot of levels, because what the best thing about it is that it takes place in a retirement community. So it's one of those where, we've read about where there's like 2,000 people and they're all, gray haired and they party and they're running around in golf carts and, they do everything. It's like, you get to play and there's freedom because you know stuff you didn't know when you were playing before in your
what the heck,
teens, 20s, 30s. Yeah. And so, there is the fun of that, but there's something sinister happening at this particular one, and we don't quite know what it is. And we think it's one thing that people talk about, memory and the things that frighten us now, or I'm going to break my back or everything. And so you think that might be happening, but it is deeper than the earth, what is actually going on there.
Who directed it again? Or it's produced, directed, written?
Why'd you ask me that?
No,
Will and Jeff. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Will and Jeff.
Is it Duffer? No.
The Duffer Brothers are executive producers. So it has what they recognized in our showrunners when they pitched the idea. They recognized the Stranger Things-ness of it all. Yeah. And so they came on, and they were our executive producers, and Hillary Levitt, who runs, who was their producer for Stranger Things, she came on with us. And it's a lot of things. It makes you, there's
actors.
Laughter. Well, that's what attracted me.
One of my favorite actors, Alfre Woodard.
And one of the best guys ever.
Yeah.
He's just a lovely, lovely man. But one of the cool things was maybe like the top 8 people on the call sheet were over 70. They say 65, but I know. So it was so great.
Yeah.
You should have seen our first HR meeting. The lovely lady couldn't get to out to Albuquerque where we shot. So you got like a room with all of us, and they're like, Jenna had just turned 40, I think, and then some of our other brilliant young ones, they're like 41 and 42. Will and Jeff are 43 and 44, and then you had the kids who were in the back of the room talking smack, getting put out all the time. Oh my goodness. It was, Pullman, Clark, Peters, Gina, my heart, Gina Davis, Dennis O'Hare. I shouldn't have started mentioning people. Go around that room.
No, Alfre. You did pretty good.
But, it's just things like she was talking and talking. Somebody said, can anybody hear her? Somebody goes, no, somebody adjust their hearing aid. I don't know. Can I use one part of that? And then then we started giggling. So finally somebody said, you know, we can't hear you. And you just then start laughing. And then she tells us all what we can't say. You can't say, "Ooh, you look good in those jeans today." You're just like, no. And you can't call anybody honey, baby, anything. It was like, what are we going to say to each other? And then I'm not going to say who said, well, how will I know if my butt looks good in the jeans if nobody tell me? But, oh my God. So it was so generational and talking about what makes us feel safe. And
it's a good thing, but there are some losses that go along with the good thing.
You know, If you acting up, we will all take you down if you're messing around with somebody, one of our people.
That's good.
But we will all take you down. But that's how it had been. Just like we used to get put out on the street to go play. Nobody hovered over us and had orange slices for us when we were on one of those things at the park that goes around and you can't get off of it. Then you're up chucking and the boys keep spinning it. So yeah, we're kind of that generation. So that's what's fun about it, because our whole group, we live on a cul-de-sac, and even at the Boroughs, we're kind of the odd kids, overgrown kids, and that's why we're the ones out trying to figure out what the hell is going on. The other ones are just still having fun, but the kids from the back of the room, it's like, something's going on. Let's fix it now. And it's a lot of fun.
It's great. It's coming out on the 21st.
Yeah.
On Netflix.
Yes.
I will give Mary your love.
Please do.
Wanted you to know how much she loves you. And I get 2 stories coming my way when we're having a glass of something.
No, you got Bootsy. I told you
That's
Bootsy.
Right. I
but
got
everybody's
Bootsy.
On your honor. If you love me, don't call me Bootsy, because
that's
Bootsy.
That's the autobiography. Don't call me Bootsy. Oh.
Oh, God, Ted. You just made it funny. Now they're going to be saying, when are you putting your autobiography, Bootsy? Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
I love you. And
I love you too. And please give Roderick my love. And your daughter's still riding? Is she riding?
She owns a horse farm with her fiance in Italy. They compete on the international circuit. Oh, she just had her first foal born. They buy and sell and show horses, but they've started to breed. And she just sent me a thing. I'm a grandmother, and and we see the little one just trying to stand up and it's beautiful. And my Duncan is just the king of my heart. He is,
Are we lucky?
We are. We're not lucky. We're fortunate. But everybody has the same good fortune because good is afoot and it is a law. Yeah. And we just have to be looking for it because it's already there.
It kind of breaks down for me. It's like, be grateful and hum a note in life that maybe makes a difference.
Nice.
A kind note, a nurturing note. And then the rest is gravy.